Hello everyone, Crimson Glow here. This video was commissioned by Call of Duty Soldier 123 on Deviantart. This is what I hope will be the first of many video commissioned reviews that I'll be doing. More details about these and much more later in the video. Hope you enjoy the show. Here? Or, no, I tried that. What about here?
Can't you work any faster?
I can only do so much work so fast and for so long. The spell isn't going to be configured in only a day.
We only have so much time to do what we have to do.
You don't think I know that? I need a break.
What? You can't be serious.
You might get stronger the more that I get stressed, angry, or depressed, but I can't properly process any of that into energy until I take a breather.
So, what do you have in mind?
The first 2 seasons of Gumball, maybe? The Amazing World of Gumball first arrived in May 3rd, 2011 on Cartoon Network, created by the name that I can't pronounce right here, and I know that you're commenting right now that it's pronounced this way or that way. I don't care. It was one of the shows that arrived at the end of the live-action era of Cartoon Network, along with Steven Universe and Adventure Time. It started as a concept of all the creators rejected commercial cartoon characters, but then it had to be retooled to be about the Watersons, an average family on a totally average block made up of different animation styles and CGI Muppets. It's a fun time. I'm going to be upfront with everyone watching this. I'm not a fan of lull-so-random humor. Ask anybody who knows me in real life. Things like Pop Team Epic, Chowder, they're not my cup of tea, they're not my binging choice. And if I watch them for too long, I just get annoyed. That's just the way I am. With that being said, I want to get to the actual review for the show. Let's start with the story of the show, or rather just the way that it's been written, because up until this point, there's not really a lot of continuity that's continued, with very few exceptions in between. Like Penny, the peanut fairy thing. Okay. And Rob, the friend turned enemy, which changes art styles sometimes for some reason, I don't know. Besides, we're only focusing on the first 2 seasons. Like I said before, the show focuses a lot on the Watterson family, specifically on the title character, Gumball, who is the blue anthropomorphic cat that is supposedly the eldest of these siblings. I'm pretty sure one of them is adopted, or there's something wrong there. The second unofficial member of the family being Darwin, the orange fish with legs, and the youngest being Anais, the smart little pink bunny. And they also have their parents, workaholic Nicole, and lazy stay-at-home dad Richard. Gumball is what I describe as Ned from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide if he had no true common sense and didn't listen to his support system at all. He's funny, energetic, crazy, but there's definitely a willingness to go the extra mile. The show consists of a lot of regular slice-of-life shows with small twists to them, similar to shows like My Little Pony. The major difference, though, is that 1. While there might be a lesson, it's usually not nuanced, it's just funnier. 2. They tend to focus on just how crazy the situation can get before the straight man steps in or the main character realizes it. Or, primarily, it's just a comedic sitcom-like show with heavy emphasis on comedy and most things being centered around the kids. Gumball, as stated before, is the eldest of the group. Wiki tends to describe him as, quote, a very imaginative person. Pretty optimistic and very protective of his loved ones. On multiple occasions, he's quick to go into a sort of overprotective mode, which I would say is a pretty accurate description of the first 2 seasons of the show. As despite having a notoriously terrible time in schooling, Gumball is somehow able to calculate behavior schemes and execute them well. With varied results.
I found my happy place!
That's great! Good for you!
With that being said, there are many examples of Gumball being a beacon of optimism for these people, despite maybe not being the best person to come to for optimism. Though, overprotectiveness, yeah, Yeah, that sounds about right, especially in one episode called Responsible, where Darwin and Gumball are babysitting their little sister Anais and, well...
I can't believe this. I'm going upstairs. Stairs! Ah! What are you doing?
79% of stair accidents happen on the stairs. Oh, it is on fire.
Fire! Stop! Don't throw water on our electrical...
Then we have Darwin, a pet fish. No, really, that's what he's labeled as enrolled in this school. He is a pet fish. And as thematically appropriate, like every character in this show, Darwin, according to the creator, was originally designed for a children's show that was never produced, like many of the characters. Wow, this guy doesn't throw anything away. His name is... well... It's the most interesting because, well, it's freaking long!
What's your name?
Darwin, Raglan, Caspian, Ahab, Poseidon, Nicodemus, Watterson III.
But also because his full name is close to entirely water-themed, with the only exception being Darwin as a way to talk about the Darwin fish, which is, you guessed it, a fish with legs. Raglan either refers to the World War I Royal Naval ship or a town in New Zealand known for surfing and a dolphin species. Caspian either means the Caspian Sea or the prince of the same name doing Chronicles of Narnia, and Ahab meaning Moby Dick. Poseidon because, well, obviously, though there is a scene where Gumball mounts Darwin like a horse, which is funny because if anybody knows their Greek history, that is the god of horses too. I still don't know how that relates to each other, but oh well. Hilarious coincidence? Careful writing? You decide. Lastly, Nicodemus. I probably butchered that, but oh well. Which was an interesting choice actually. He was a saint known for the latter half of the 18th century, being known for, well, being a lover of all things, which is probably the most accurate thing relating to Darwin. Darwin has a much better understanding of his own moral compass and tends to be the voice of reason when things get hairy, though it's usually weak as a result of being next to Gumball. He's noticeably less selfish than Gumball, usually finding himself doing things that are for the benefit of others, not really for himself. Usually it's Gumball that's receiving this attention, but there have been other times where he's helped others. For example, with the robber from The Spoon, where both Gumball and Darwin help in a robbery. I never said that it was always for the best of people that Darwin likes to help, but it happens, and as a result, he seems slightly more naive than Gumball. Darwin is also one of those calm on the outside, storm on the inside. One of the best examples of this would be the banana, where Darwin absolutely loses his mind because his homework got destroyed.
I don't understand. For my whole walking life, I've had to keep my mouth shut, having to deal with everyone's annoying little habits. But now, I can say what I like. I feel like...
Dude, what are you doing?
I feel like... Ever since I was a young fish, I always held my tongue. Never spoke the words I felt inside, and now my time has come. I push my feelings deep down, now Everyone get out of here! He's gonna hurt your feelings real bad!
No! We need to listen to him! He's just misunderstated!
Hey, Chinbag. How about you learn to breathe through your nostrils? Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have any! Nostrils. And how about you clip those stupid nails? They're not gonna make you any more feminine. In case you haven't noticed, you're a 10-ton sack of reptile flesh. I got that. And as for you, the only thing worse than hearing you slurp your coffee is watching it stick to your rancid lady mustache!
Anais is again the youngest of the three, and she is definitely what I would consider one of the most level-headed of the group, next to her mom. She's diligent, organized, sensible, probably the most straight man person you could find for Darwin and Gumball, though she does have her own moments of immaturity, for example, the Responsible episode.
Come back, Anais! You can run, but you can't hide! Run! Hide! Put it on!
Out of all the characters in the trio, Anais is probably the most likely to be the one telling everyone what's really going on. She's also shown to be the least sociable of the group, and at least for the first 2 seasons, she doesn't really have any friends, and it's not until season 3 where we're actually told that she's socially awkward. And then, later on, she actually gets friends of her own. She is shown to be mostly hanging around her brother. She tends to like being by herself, which is actually really fun considering not a lot of cartoons show this as a good thing. If they do though, it's usually some character being antisocial and angsty, which can be fun and even played up for laughs in other seasons, but here it's just kind of nice to see a loner character who is just fine with being alone and nobody is affected. Next we have Richard and Nicole, 2 of the most opposite characters you could possibly find on this show. They honestly remind me of a better version of Peter and Lois from Family Guy. Nicole is a workaholic mom with anger issues that tries her best to be the best mom she can possibly be, and Richard is a stay-at-home dad that does nothing to keep up the house at all, except it just makes things worse for Nicole. While Peter and Lois, well, I think Meg said it best.
Arrogance to consistently and ruthlessly point out my shortcomings.
All right, well, fine. Okay, I'm not the perfect mother. Who is?
Oh, not only are you not the perfect mother, you're the furthest thing from. From the moment you gave birth to me, I had to trust you. I had no choice. I needed you to protect me from the world, to be my guide, to help me navigate the difficult, confusing, and vulnerable journey to becoming a person. You have done none of those things. You're my mother, and you took a child's trust and smashed it into bits in a 17-year-long mission to destroy something that you killed a long time ago. And honestly, when I turn 18, I don't know that I ever want to see you again.
Right, I see what's going on here. You're in love with your old man.
You have no education, you have no interest, you just do whatever reckless thing you want to do, whenever you want to do it, without regard for anyone else. Oh, and when you're not terrorizing the community with your impulsive escapades, you're being a total jerk to your family. You shove your daughter's face in your ass and you fart on it. If someone in the outside world could see the way you treat me, you would be in jail. Oh, this is amusing to you. Well, see if you find this funny.
I like where this is going.
You're a fat, lazy, abusive, blue-collar Irish Catholic dad who drinks way too much and barely makes enough money to support his family. You've lived half your life and you have nothing to show for it. Your only arguable accomplishments are your kids. And look at us. We're a disaster.
Hey, watch it.
You're a total and complete embarrassment in every possible way. Take a good look at yourself, Peter Griffin. You're a waste of a man.
On one hand, you could definitely see these characters having truly bad habits that affect their everyday lives in negative ways. Nicole has lost her job because of her temper before, and Richard's laziness has caused a lot of stress for the entire family. Despite that though, I would much rather watch Nicole and Richard's relationship than Peter and Lois's. Mostly because Peter and Lois, unlike say Homer and Marge from The Simpsons and Nicole and Richard, they don't seem to have a line that they just can't cross. They constantly cheat, hate, and oftentimes as the audience, we are left feeling like we don't even know why they're even still together. Even when they have this wholehearted moral speech about how they love each other, it's hard to take seriously because they basically cross every line possible beforehand. It just doesn't feel genuine. Unlike Nicole and Richard, who you could constantly see why they're together in the first place. There's an episode about how Gumball thinks that he's a ninja master and makes a fool of himself in front of the entire school. Nicole is trying to save him from that humiliation, similar to the one that Richard had to go through, except it was a cape. Yes, she did lie in order to get rid of the cape, but by the end of the episode, you can genuinely feel their characters' interactions being good. It feels genuine. It feels real towards each other. The only character I can see some people hating is probably Richard and Nicole. Richard's humor centers around how lazy he is and how childish he can be, while Nicole seems to be really abrasive. Even then, if you do end up hating them, they're not usually the central part of the show, and most episodes they're just acting as outsiders to whatever is happening. For me, I never really found anyone unlikable. The characters have some sort of moral background, unless the characters or the plot says that we want to be a machine gun of jokes. There's some good quality writing that makes them feel more like people than like caricatures. Like, I can see Nicole as a relative I have. I can see Richard as someone I know. Darwin and Gumball can feel like my brother. Anais can seem like my mother when she was much younger. It really depends on who you've been exposed to and what people you like to hang around. Now, while the other characters are a lot of fun to talk about, they aren't really as important as the first two characters or even the Wattersons. Though, honestly, I could make videos about each individual's character arcs if I had the time. I will not have the time. Let's talk about the wonderful world of this animation, because the most ambitious project Cartoon Network has ever taken on is this project. Period. There are so many different art styles, animation styles, backgrounds to go through, and in the entire show, it actually takes 6 companies to get through. Animations were done by way too many companies to say out loud, so here are all the names while I talk. The resulting collaboration of these animation studios would make the different, unique, and dare I say, amazing world of Gumball. The backgrounds are hyper-realistic in comparison to the characters that are actually put in this setting, and this was also a decision by the creator based on his own experience with UK commercials. This isn't the first time a cartoon has done this before. Heck, Cartoon Network actually did something similar with pre-existing characters in hyper-realistic settings in the form of shorts. Fox's Sit Down and Shut Up also did something similar, but they didn't take advantage of surroundings despite everything being animated. Whereas in The Amazing World of Gumball, all the characters have a very different feeling to each other, except for maybe a few of the closer cast and some exceptions, like Penny and her family, the Wattersons, and the principal of the school, just to name a few. Other characters like Tina Rex, Miss Simeon, Bobbert have a very distinct look in CGI animation, with things leaning more towards cartoony or more towards a live-action look, with the only true live-action character being Susie, played by one of the animation directors of the show and is voiced by Fergus Craig. With that in mind, this was a huge undertaking to come together into something that was extremely well animated, fitting each character and even blending their different personalities with their respective animation style, no matter what they're supposed to be. The animation does change from Season 1 to Season 2 and pretty much solidifies by Season 3. It's not really that big of a difference to most unless you see it from like Season 1 and then straight to Season 3. I would say that the animation for the first 2 seasons are a lot stiffer than the rest due to not really being familiar with this format like it is now. It had never been done so diversely at the time, and for some of the animation, it's been a long time running. To add to that, Cartoon Network had been going through a phase where live-action shows were kind of being met with rage and rather mutually confused shrugs. Even despite this, it being such an immense project, it was also a last-minute concept. No, really, this was a last-minute concept. The creator started the concept as all of his rejected cartoon characters from his days as commercial, and having it be like a school for rejected cartoon characters, but then he retooled it pretty last-minute too, as he basically said,
"So I wanted to make an anthology of all the different cartoons I made over the years, and call it The Amazing World of Gumball." Yeah, we ain't looking for that right now. Wait. What if it's just about this guy's family and they just happen to be wacky cartoon characters? Perfect. Oh, just one more thing. This isn't going to be a cinematic universe, is it? What? No, I don't have any long-term plans for this. No.
It makes sense why the first 2 seasons are written so meh. I mean, it's not bad by any means. A lot of it is just kind of standard fare, ranging from standard sitcom stuff with a slight cartoony twist, like cross-dressing to be mistaken as the opposite gender, to a parody of the usual cartoon tropes, like in the End of the World episode where it's not really the end of the world. The way that this show is written is a lot of the material can be really fun, but it's really just not anything particularly special when compared to how much better it gets later. As a whole, the first 2 seasons are a nice palate cleanser between more plot-heavy shows, or between working on reviews and working on a spell, maybe. It's not really something I would binge on, but it's worth checking out. This has been your Future Evolve Lord, Crimson Glow, and back to work. Maybe if I put the room here?